Dear students, we will continue our discussion of poetry, and now we move on to the metaphysical poetry. And the most prominent poet of metaphysical poetry was John Donne. Let us begin with the introduction of John Donne. John Donne was born in 1572 in Elizabethan England into a devout Catholic family. A very religious man, he was persecuted for being Catholic and not allowed to go either Oxford or Cambridge to become a priest. So in order to achieve his ambitions, he converted to Anglicanism. The priesthood inspired some extraordinary religious verse, but he is, if anything, more commonly known for his love songs and sonnets, which are marked by their diversity of moods and attitudes. Donne is said to be a metaphysical poet. Metaphysics is a branch of philosophy which deals with any other beyond that which can be located through the senses, thus, time, the mind, free will, God, and in this case, love, are all subjects of metaphysical thought. The Good Morrow is a prime example of one of the Donne's metaphysical poems. In common with other metaphysical verse, the Good Morrow has realistic settings and a metaphysical theme, or rather a theme about transcending from the physical to the metaphysical. The transformation is one concerning love. The poem is about transcending from a physical lust to a higher and refined form of love. The structure of the Good Morrow is based on three interrelated verses. In the first verse, the poet describes the childishness of the previous loves of himself and his lover. In the second, the poet describes how wonderful their newfound love is, and after being spiritually awakened through each other, the poet describes how this love determines their future together. In other words, Donne has used a chronological structure for this poem. The first verse concerning the past, the second verse concerning the present, and the third verse concerning the future. This structure is also implicit in the title of the poem. The Good Morrow describes the lovers' present physical situation, that is, lying together in bed. They have personally and emotionally woken up from yesterday's immature relationships and are looking forward to spending tomorrow and many more days beside in love together. Throughout the poem, we see Donne's unique sense of different types of conceit and imaginary, from religious imagery to sea discoverers and maps, and even of masculinity and femininity. The poem Good Morrow is a hyperbolic description of a mood one newly in love who rejoices that his passion is reciprocated. It dwells on the eternal nature of true love. It is a monologue dealing with the past, present, and future. Stanza first treats of time past as the poet wonders what he and his lady did before they love each other. The era begins with their useless love in which they were scarcely awake, hardly weaned, and sucked on country pleasures like children. The opening feeling of wonder thus gives way to his reflection. The poet questions if they slept their time away in the seven sleepers' den, like the Christian youth of Ephesus who, fleeing the Dacian persecution, took refuge in a cave and slept there for more than a century. Past love, he continues, in a tone that rises again to a joyous wonder, were only a foreshadowing dream of his lady. Stanza 2 takes place in the present time of their love. Their waking souls indicate that the beginning of their love was very much like birth. Love controls all other sides so that they need not be jealous of one another. Their one little room is transformed by love into an everywhere using images from the world of geographical discovery. He leaves the explorers, their worlds, maps, etc. The lovers have their own world. Each hath one and is one reciprocal feeling, both physical and spiritual, thus makes them the one that is the tone of celebration. Stanza 3 shows us their oneness as a mirror image. One's face is reflected in the other's eyes. Exploration, maps, globes, etc. are drawn upon as the poet asks where they could find, I quote, two better hemispheres, unquote. The metaphor then shifts to one of death as the lover says, whatever dies was not equally mixed. He adds, quote, if our two lovers be one, or thou and I love so alike that none do slacken, none can die. Unquote. The ending is one of firm affirmation. Thus, we conclude this poem, Good Morrow, and we move on to the next poem, The Ecstasy. Ecstasy refers strictly to the supreme mystical experience in which the soul, transcending the body, attains the vision of God. This idea, defined by the New Platonists and taken by Christian philosophers in common 17th century use, simply meant the mind's transcendence over body. The poem opens with two lovers, one another's best, sitting on a riverbank, their hands joined by a balm, which suggests an ointment of religious magical properties, and looking into one another's eyes. Intergraft used to describe their intertwined hands. Their souls, however, have not gone out of their bodies and are compared to two armies going forth to meet upon a battlefield. While their physical bodies, made pure by love, lie still upon the bank, love brings them together as a transcendence, and transplanted violet causes the new soul, comprised of both their former ones, to overcome loneliness. Yet, the poet continues, this one new soul knows of what it is made. That is, that it must descend to the body for affections. Their bodies, while not sum total of the lovers, are nonetheless their spheres, as they themselves identify with the intelligences or souls. They owe their bodies thanks, for that is how they were first drawn to each other, and consider them alloy rather than dross. Heaven's influence on man operates in such a way that bodies must first encounter bodies before their souls can merge. Spirit, he says, holds together both man's body and his soul, and pure lover's soul must descend to the sense and their faculties, else a great prince in prison lies, that is, the undiscovered bodily province. So they must turn to their bodies for further instruction. Although love's mysteries are nurtured in the soul, the body is love's brook, that is the source from which all mysteries of love are revealed. And the poet concludes, if anyone should have overheard or seen them, he will observe a small change when the lovers do go about occupying their bodies. The same spiritual quality of their love will be in operation. Donne's images are drawn from realms of mystical experience, Christian philosophy, the new Platonist, and scholastic psychology. They serve to progress the argument of his love poem. And that brings the end of this poem, Ecstasy. And we will further continue and discuss another poem written by John Donne in the next video. And the poem is The Canonization. Thank you.